CFL Report, the pregame edition. Week 10, a great one for CFL receivers. A tough 3 weeks for the Argos. What's gone wrong in Toronto? And meet Big Mr. Blue. Tackle Chris Walby of Winnipeg. The CFL Report brought to you by Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Charmer. Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, the CFL Reports, our pregame edition as the Rough Riders try once more to put some respectability in this CFL season. It is week 11, and tonight the Ottawa Rough Riders line up against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Ironically, the Bombers are the only team to have lost to the Ottawa Rough Riders this entire 1988 season. We'll talk about Ottawa and Winnipeg first, but Lee Pedersen joins me as we look to the news in Canadian football this week, and the Argonauts have been right smack dab in the middle of most of it.
Well, they sure have, John. They've made so many changes. Tank Landry came back, went out west now to the Calgary Stampeders. They had to get rid of him. You know, you walk out on your teammates, you can't have him back. So Harold Hallman now comes to Toronto. They need him. Ben Zambiazzi may play tomorrow. We don't know. He hasn't played in a long time. We'll see what happens. But they have made a lot of moves.
The BC Lions are in a bit of turmoil these days. They're losing football games when they were winning at the front end of the season. The Calgary Stampeders, the latest team to hand the Lions a very decisive loss.
Well, you know, it's kind of fun for me to see the Calgary Stampeders make a comeback. You know, we had them dead and buried a few weeks ago, and what do? Well, they win 2 in a row with Larry Kuharich. And the BC Lions, of course, they thought all the problems were solved when Matt Dunnigan came there, and I guess I didn't see the game last night, but I guess Matt must have had a great night. Calgary did, so they're tied, and Calgary may get a playoff spot.
Well, the Stampeders are on a bit of a tear after 2 straight victories. Their latest came last night at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Now, it was not a terrific night to be playing football. Here's a look back.
And that shows Rick Warman was at the helm of the big play Stampeder offense on Friday night, and it didn't take long for the fireworks to start early first quarter. Warman goes long for tailback Emmanuel Tolbert, who slides in safely for 6 big points, and the Stamps lead it 7-0. Still in the first quarter, 14-1 Calgary. Warman unloads one deep for Larry Willis with a couple of nice moves. Willis makes it 72 yards for the major score. At the half, Calgary leads by 22 points. BC does get on the board, however. Fourth quarter, Ricky Fogarty tosses his first CFL touchdown pass. Not pretty, but it counts. 31-16 Stampeders. Late in the fourth quarter, Warman ices the cake. Once again, it's Willis on the receiving end, this time from 15 yards out, as Calgary tears a strip off the Lions, the final 40-22.
So a big victory for Calgary Stampeder fans as the Stampeders get back in the playoff hunt in the Western Division. They are now dead even with the BC Lions. It has been a tough couple of weeks for the BC Lions. Week 10 was no picnic either. Friday night in Vancouver, the 6-4 Rough Riders visited the 5-5 BC Lions. Kent Austin and Ray Elgard hooked up twice in the first half for touchdowns to give the Rough Riders an 18-10 halftime lead. But the Lions roared back to make it interesting in the second half. A 49-yard bomb from Dunnigan to David Williams gave BC a 32-29 lead with 2 minutes left in the game. But it took Kent Austin only 35 seconds to put the Riders back in front. A 40-yard touchdown toss to Elgard with 1:12 remaining gave the Rough Riders the win. The final score, Saskatchewan 36, BC 32. The second game of the week featured the 5-5 Blue Bombers hosting the 3-7 Stampeders. Winnipeg got the only major of the opening half. Tom Mickey to Jeff Jenkins, a 4-yard touchdown. The Bombers led 13-4 at halftime. But Rick Warman came off the bench late in the third quarter to lead the Calgary comeback. A 1-yard plunge with less than 5 minutes remaining put the Stampeders in front for good. The final score, Calgary 20, Winnipeg 14. Week 10 continued with a Hall of Fame game Sunday in Hamilton, the Tiger Cats and the Ottawa Rough Riders. The Ticats dominated the early going. Earl Winfield scored 2 touchdowns, including this on a 73-yard pass and run from Mike Kerrigan. The Tabbies led 20-10 at halftime. But the Rough Riders battled back to tie the game early in the final quarter. Jeff Wickersham hooked up with Gerald Alphin for a 43-yard major, and the game was even at 25. But Hamilton regained the lead with under 5 minutes to play. Winfield took a Tom Dixon punt at midfield and found an opening. 54 yards later, Winfield had his 3rd touchdown of the game, and the Tiger Cats held on for the win. The final, 35-25. The final game of the week featured the Eastern Division leading Argonauts against the Western Division leading Eskimos in Edmonton. Former Argo Brian Walling came into Honda's old teammates with a 6-yard touchdown early in the second quarter. Edmonton in front 14-4. Toronto answered with a touchdown later in the quarter. Gilbert Renfro connecting with Warren Hudson, and the game was even at 14 by halftime. But the Eskimos took control in the final quarter. A fake field goal caught the Argos napping, and Greg Vavra found a wide-open Brett the Toaster Williams in the end zone. Great catch, Toaster. And the final, Edmonton 38, Toronto 21. And that sets up a rematch at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto tomorrow. The Eskimos and the Argonauts once more. Now let's look back to more of Week 10 as we salute, honorable mention, and stars, the Foster's CFL Stars of the Week.
Quarter.
Hamilton wide receiver Earl Winfield, honorable mention for this week's award. Winfield caught 2 touchdown passes from Mike Kerrigan and returned to punt for another to lead the Tiger Cats over Ottawa. Argo slot back Darryl Smith also earns honorable mention. Smith, a bright spot in Toronto's loss to Edmonton by catching 8 for 161 yards. But our award this week goes to Gerald Alphin of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Alphin, a favorite target of receiver Jeff Wickersham. 7 catches, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns as the Riders threw a scare into the Tiger Cats. That performance was good enough to earn Gerald Alphin the Foster's Star of Week 10 in the CFL. And now the award for the Canadian Star of the Week. Another receiver, slotback Ray Elgard of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a one-man wrecking crew for the Green Riders in their big win over BC Friday. Elgard hauled in 8 passes for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns, including the game winner with just over a minute remaining. That performance was good enough to earn Ray Elgard our Canadian Star for Week 10 in the CFL. Terrific week for receivers in Canadian football as we salute the stars of week number 10. And looking ahead on the CFL Report as we continue live from Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, the Edmonton Eskimos have found another winner to be their quarterback. The CFL Report pregame edition live from Lansdowne Park continues as we get ready to show you the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a game that both teams really want to win. Dunnigan, Moon, Wilkinson, Allen, and now Tracy Ham. The Eskimos find a great way of finding quarterbacks.
The way the season's been going, pleased with what's happened to you this year, Tracy?
Well, I think I've improved from the first game I played in, and that's my goal, is to improve each game I play in and get better as a season. I've seen where I made some mistakes at, though, and I think that was expected because I'm in a situation where I haven't been in before.
Okay, Tracy, the Eskimos are the #1 team so far this year. Things have progressed pretty quickly for you. Do you feel that you're the #1 quarterback now with the Eskimos?
Well, I feel like I'm doing what the Eskimos want their quarterback to do. I think I can, as time goes on, I'll get better, and with their philosophy, I'm comfortable with the things that are going on. I think as far as being a #1 quarterback, that's not an issue that I focus on, whether I'm #1 or #2. I felt like that coming into the season, when I got a chance to play, I needed to play well, and that's what I've tried to focus on.
But every quarterback wants to be the #1 man.
I think that in time I'd like to be called a #1 quarterback, but that's not an issue that's confronting me right now.
What's been the toughest part, do you think, in your own mind since starting this year as the #1 quarterback?
Well, I think the toughest part is the ball games we lost, and I look and see if maybe if Dame would have been in there, we had a chance to win him because he was a lot more experienced than I was. When you lose a ball game that you think you should win, I think that's the toughest part to deal with.
Down the stretch now, you're in the second half of the season. What do you feel you have to do better?
Well, I think we can't turn the ball over. I can't give up the easy points to the opposing teams. I feel like that we got to make consistent long drives. I think we've been a big play team thus far. I feel like that if we are going to be a contender in this year's Grey Cup, that we have to learn to make the long drive, the 80-yard drives, with consistency on offense.
What's the bottom line there, though? I mean, as a quarterback, what do you have to do to get those long drives going? Do you have to take better advantage of your receivers, or how do you
just got to get
read the
everybody,
defenses better, or how do you look at it?
You have to get everybody involved in the offense. You got to move the ball around to different people, let them get involved in the offense. And as far as for me, I got to pick up defenses quicker. And I think if I do that and everybody gets involved in the offense, that we'll have a chance.
Looking back at when you came here, have things progressed slower than you would have thought, or faster?
Oh, a lot faster.
Yeah?
I really didn't expect to play as much as I'd played already. I thought I'd play some this year, but not in a situation where it was a must-win situation. I think that's the biggest thing that caught me by surprise, was I was put in a situation where I had to play and we needed some wins. And we've just been fortunate enough to come out on the better end of the deal.
Tracy Ham and the Eskimos against the Argonauts at Exhibition Stadium. It's a rematch tomorrow afternoon in Week 11 in Canadian football. Look back 4 weeks and the Argonauts were the best team around. They have lost 3 in a row, and there's lots of turmoil on this team. Right now, let's get caught up on some of the changes.
A little over a month ago, the Toronto Argonauts were rolling along on a 7-game winning streak and in first place in the Eastern Division. The main reason for the Argos' success was their aggressive gang-tackling defense. Head coach Bob Obilovich said it was the best he'd seen in his 8 years in Toronto. But then the Argos' seemingly invincible defense quickly began to fall apart. Nose tackle Gerald Bayless went down with an injury. Russia and Danny Sellers was traded to make room for Nolan Harper, who suddenly decided to retire. Middle linebacker Doug Tank Landry went AWOL for 2 weeks and was eventually traded to Calgary for defensive lineman Harold Holman. And cornerback Carl Brazeley joined the injury list with a broken bone in his wrist. But there's no question the Argos' biggest blow is the loss of Landry. He made the defense what it was.
Tank was a very aggressive player, but hopefully the guys that come in to replace him will be, just as aggressive. He was very effective with his style of play.
The player who might replace Landry is a very familiar face to CFL fans. 6-time All-Canadian Ben Zambiasi. Zambiasi was released by the Ticats before the season started because he refused to take a pay cut.
I'm looking forward to actually working with this group of guys. They young, aggressive. They're tied for first, and it's the big adjustment's going to be me blended in with them, and I'm going to do my best to do that.
With the addition of Holman, the CFL's Rookie of the Year in 1986, the Argos might change their defense to a 4-3 alignment.
When we had Gerald Bayless in the defense along with Doug Landry, we tried to utilize their capabilities the best we could, and we were playing pretty well when they were all in there healthy and playing well. But those are things, maybe it's little subtle changes we may have to make once we get a good reading on Harold's ability and fitting him in with the rest of the guys.
While the Argonauts have lost an impact player in Landry, they might have gained another in Holman.
I have a lot of stored energy inside of me, so I'm just waiting to release it, and I feel like I can go out there and help those guys, and bring them off the, the 3-game losing streak that they're having problems with now, and I feel like I can go out and contribute and be an impact player there too.
For the Toronto Argonauts, it's really, what have you done for me lately? Bob Obilovich had 7 straight wins, and now he's on a losing streak. And really, most of the problems he hasn't caused or hasn't really been responsible for at all.
No, he really hasn't. Some of those things, of course, are out of his control. But, it's really tough to turn it around. You lose your opener, then you win 7, then you lose 3. It doesn't get that much easier to turn around. It's fun to see Ben Zambiasi back there. I'll tell you, if he plays tomorrow, they'll need a crane to get him out of bed on Monday morning, because he hasn't taken a hit in quite a while.
Well, he hasn't, and, of course, this is more than midway through a football season. He last played last November, so Zambiasi may not really be in the middle of things tomorrow. We're not really sure.
Well, I don't know how much you can expect from him. He's a great middle linebacker, and he's certainly a valuable guy to have come in and help you out in the crunch. But should be a great game in Toronto tomorrow. Edmonton, of course, would like to win back-to-back games against Toronto, so we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll continue with the CFL Report. We're live at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Ahead on TSN Live tonight, the Rough Riders and the Blue Bombers. back to Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. 2 months and 2 days from now, this will be the site of the 1988 Grey Cup game. I don't know if the Ottawa Rough Riders and Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be there, but that's the game we're here to cover tonight. And over on the other side, here's Leif Pettersson.
Well, John, you know, when you look at the strengths of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the last 5 years, I think you'd put the offensive line at the top of the list. And joining us tonight on the CFL Report is All-Star offensive tackle Chris Walby. And Chris, I have to think it's been a bit of a frustrating year for you guys because your offensive line is pretty much the same group as last year, and yet you've given up more sacks than you usually do. What's the problem been?
Well, it's, I think, a whole new system. We started off with some new stuff this year. We had to replace a legend in Tom Clements, and you know, he can make an offensive line look pretty good. And you know, we've had some guys rotating at right guard, and a lot of things like that with new running backs. And again, Willard Reeves leaving us, that was another guy, another big hole to fill. I think the last couple of games, or last about 5 games, the line is starting to play better together. And as a result, know where the quarterbacks are setting up, and that is a whole big key as far as protection.
You know, I think it's safe to say that the Bombers really have struggled in 1988, but has it been the loss of all the players, strictly that, or are there other reasons why you guys haven't played that as well as you thought you might?
Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't think we'd be in this position where we are right now. I thought that we'd be about a 7-4 right now, and we've struggled. We seem to play well one week and rebound with a terrible game the next. So, you know, we're trying to straighten that out, but you know, as far as the players, new people we have, that was a thing in the beginning of the year. But you know, when you're 11 games into the season and things aren't still going well, then I think you got to look at some of the personnel maybe and some of those things.
Chris, you were the Shanley Outstanding Offensive Lineman last year in Canadian football, and you know, it's tough for us sometimes to know how well an offensive lineman is playing throughout the year. How well has Chris Walby played in 1988?
I think I've played the same as I've played in previous years. I think that, again, stats can make you look better. And last year, of course, we led the league in sacks against, and this year we're on the opposite end of it a little bit. So, but personally, I feel pretty good with the year, and hopefully we can just find some other people in the running back position and explode again.
Well, I guess if you put a couple of wins together, everything will look a lot brighter.
Well, I think so. It's like they say, as long as you don't lose the last one. And, you know, we got a chance to make the playoffs. I think if we beat Ottawa tonight, we mathematically erase them. So that's a big thing to think of right now.
All right, good luck for the rest of the season, Chris. John, over to you and your special guests.
You're looking at Jeff Wickersham, who will quarterback the Ottawa Rough Riders tonight against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Take a look at this football game for us, Jeff, and tell me if you think this might be the night that Ottawa gets another win in the win column.
Well, I sure hope so. We've worked hard a lot this week preparing for them, and I think we got a lot of good things we can do against them. We just hope we can come out and execute it.
You've had some personal success over the last couple of weeks. You moved the ball club and a couple of tough breaks along the way as well.
Yeah, we've had some breaks. We've been right in there at the end of the games, you know, had a chance to win them, but it just seems like we came up a little bit short, and hopefully we can turn things around.
What do you think you can exploit in this Bomber defense? I know it's a tough one. Is there any area that you think you might be able to find a little hole in?
Well, we think they have a great linebacking core, of course, and they run real well to the ball, so we're going to try and do a few misdirection plays and try and get the ball just past their linebackers with throwing.
It's no secret that Orville Lee has to fit into your game plan, and I would take it quite extensively against Winnipeg.
Oh yeah, we're going to try and get the ball in Orville's hands as much as we can because he's such a great back and can make so many things happen for us.
And on the other side of the ball, or at least the other part of your offense, has to be Gerald Alphen. He's going for 1,000 yards tonight. He is a great receiver.
He's a great receiver, and just like Orville, they're a 1-2 punch on offense, and we just got to find ways to get those guys the balls.
What do we look for from Jeff Wickersham tonight? What would you like to have yourself described as a quarterback?
Well, I just hope to get a little more consistent than I have been. I think I've improved with each game I've played, and hopefully that'll continue tonight. And I think if I do improve over my last couple games, I think we'll come out of here with a win. What is the mood in this Ottawa Rough Rider football team? It is tough to be 1-10. There's no question about it. What is the mood in the dressing room? Well, we're still upbeat. We still think we have a good team. We've done a lot of things to hurt ourselves, not so much the other teams beating us. I think we've beaten ourselves a couple times this year, and we're still looking forward to each game, and hopefully we'll come out with a win. Tell me you think this is going to be the night. Do you think this is the night? Yeah, I sure hope so.
Okay, thanks very much, Jeff. And we'll continue with the CFL Report, our pregame edition from Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. Coming up next, Leif Pettersson sets the line with Marty Adler. Let's hope the boys are. By that, we mean the Ottawa Rough Riders will look for their second win of this 1988 CFL season as they take on the Blue Bombers at Lansdowne Park here this evening. Now, let's set the line for Week 11 in Canadian football. Marty Adler is standing by. Now, he had a pretty good week last week, so I'm sure he'll be gloating a little bit. We'll set the line with Marty and then get Leif Pedersen to see what he thinks about the CFL line this week.
I'll tell you, Lee. You know, guys, my picks keep getting better and better every week. Now, we've got 3 games to talk about this week. We'll start off with Edmonton going into Toronto. We told you last week that when these 2 teams met, it was going to be a preview of the Grey Cup. And you know what that means? It means that the Eskimos are going to win the Grey Cup, right? Well, could be. What we had in this game last week was the undefeated at-home Edmonton Eskimos taking on the sputtering offense of the Toronto Argonauts. And it was Edmonton that came out on top. They're going now back to Toronto. The Argos have to be favored by 2.5 in this game, but you know what? Even though there's a revenge factor, I don't think that Toronto will cover. I think not only will Edmonton cover, they'll win the game. Next up, Hamilton going into Regina to meet the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and it couldn't have happened at a better time. Their first meeting of the year. Both teams are 7-4. Hamilton off of winning against Ottawa, 35-25. Saskatchewan upsetting BC Lions at BC Place last week. 3 wins in a row for them. I really like this quarterback, Kent Austin. Dave Ridgway doesn't hurt. He'll be the difference in this game. It's a pick'em game. Saskatchewan will cover. And with the game coming up on TSN next, we've got Winnipeg going into Ottawa. Good news and bad news for Ottawa. First, the bad news, Ottawa's lost 10 games this year. The good news, the only team they've beaten, Winnipeg, and they beat them in Winnipeg Stadium 28-17. Now, what I have here is Winnipeg favored by 4, but I think Ottawa will win its 2nd game of the year.
Well, he had a good week last week. You should know the abbreviation for Winnipeg is WPG, not WINN.
Can you believe that? I mean, he got it wrong. Listen, the guy has 2 good weeks in a row, and boy, is he getting cocky. I don't know. Marty Adler. He set some pretty funny lines for this week, though.
Let's deal with number 1, the one we've got here tonight, Winnipeg and Ottawa.
Well, Winnipeg favored by 4. I mean, you have to favor. Ottawa has won 1 game, but you know, Marty thinks that Ottawa is going to win in an upset. I just don't think it's going to happen tonight. Give the 4 points. Take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They have to come back after an awful loss to Calgary last week. So I'm going with Winnipeg.
What about the Argonauts? Are they going to come back against the Edmonton Eskimos this week and get back into first place in the Eastern Division? Hamilton has caught up.
Well, you know, we just talked a few minutes ago about how difficult it is to turn around those losing streaks. I really think that this is a pretty lousy line that Marty set. 2.5 points to Toronto. I mean, Edmonton beat them at home last week, and now you come Toronto 3 games in a row they've lost, and you make them a 2.5 point favorite. But you know what? I think they're going to win the game in Toronto tomorrow. So give the 2.5 points, take the Argonauts, and should be money in the bank for you.
Okay, here's a tough one for you. 2 of your old teams, your only 2 teams in the CFL, Hamilton and Saskatchewan getting together. Now you got to pick one winner here.
This is the one that really is tough for me. You know, who do I go with? The first team I played for, the second team I played for. Hamilton playing pretty well this year, and of course Saskatchewan, boy, have they turned things around, and so much credit should go to the entire team and general manager Bill Baker, coach John Gregory. It's a pick-em. You got to take Saskatchewan at home. Marty, I agree with you there, because Taylor Field's a tough place for anybody to play.
All right, let's look at how it stacks up as Leif and Marty take their teams, and that's the way we look at it as far as things are concerned this week. Write all those down, folks, and keep track of Leif Pedersen and Marty Adler, and see who is actually closer as we continue with the CFL Report 1 week from tonight. Now, we have the game coming up, the Ottawa Roughriders, Winnipeg Blue Bombers here at Lansdowne Park. Unfortunately, due to CFL blackout regulations, we will not be able to show the game in this area, so from coast to coast in Canada, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And it's not our fault that we can't show the game in Ottawa, but hopefully it'll be a good one for Rough Rider fans here tonight.
Well, I really think they're expecting a pretty good crowd here tonight, John, and, you know, both teams who desperately need a win. Winnipeg if they want to stay in the hunt in the Eastern Conference, and, of course, Ottawa if they want to just get any respectability. And, you know, Bob Weber's such a nice guy, the head coach. You kind of pull for him to maybe get his first win as head coach.
And on the other hand, Mike Riley's a pretty nice guy as well. All right. CFL Report is complete. The kickoff coming up in just a few moments live on TSN. The CFL Report has been brought to you by Foster's Lager, the Golden Throat Chama.